Hi, this is my video on the SmilePowo Selfie Kit. Now, normally when I start my videos, I show you the box, but this just comes in a plain cardboard box with literally no signage, nothing on there whatsoever. Now, I bought this from Amazon. That's the only thing it's got on there is the Amazon sticker, barcode, sorry. And I bought this for £12.99. Selfie kit has included in it is the selfie pole here, or selfie stick, the kind of Gorillapod, a small spanner so you can place, obviously lock down your GoPro on there or action camera. We have a GoPro thumb screw, a GoPro tripod mount, a phone mount, and we have a universal shutter button. Now, one thing I like about these shutter buttons, they're very easy to connect, and they take a large coin cell battery, which is usually CR2032 batteries. And last, you get a, I would say, nylon pouch to carry all your items. Now, this is the selfie stick that you get in there. It is a very simple selfie stick. You can normally pick these up on eBay or even Amazon for just under £4. It's just a generic selfie stick. It uses the car aerial type pullout on there, which has no seam on there whatsoever, but I'll come to that later. And we have a 1/4 inch thread mount at the top, and we have an adjustment thumb screw here, which is quite good, which is able to adjust this to tilt up or tilt away. It all depends what you place on there, and that's what you get. And it has a nice rubber handle with a lanyard, and at the bottom we have a 1/4 inch thread. Next up, we have the tripod, or their version of a Gorillapod, and I'll start at the top and work down. We have this very plasticky with a bit of rubber mount here with a 1/4 inch thread, and we have a release system on this mount whereby you simply press in and it can take the actual platform off. And as you can see, we have the screw there for the 1/4 inch thread. Now, it's spring loaded. As you can see the springs there. So to release it, just simply press the 2 buttons and that comes in. These teeth come in so you can release this platform, and you just simply push down, release, and the platform's on. Now, this is all made out of plastic. We have this screw here so you can make an adjustment on this ball head, or their interpretation of a ball head on there. And I have to say, it feels very cheap. It comes down to these legs now, and these legs are made of plastic with this kind of bendy, must be wire with inside there, or cable in there, and they're covered in foam and all segmented off. Now, the feet are rubber and they are easy to remove. Because they came off, and that's how they are on there, as you can see. So they're not even glued on there, they're just placed on there. And the entire length of this, their version of this Gorillapod, is 10 inches long. And I have to say, the feet do feel quite stiff. So whatever cabling or system they're using there, it does feel quite stiff. And I have to say that also it feels more of a better quality than the selfie stick. When it comes to the shutter button that you also get with it, as I stated before, this is a universal shutter button. You can buy shutter buttons exactly the same as this off Amazon and eBay, anywhere between £3 to £4 to £5. and you get them in various colors. It just happens with this particular, with the SmilePowo, you get them in black. And it's a simple such a button. We have the camera up here, that's to take your photos, and that's to take your pictures. Now, sometimes these buttons get mixed up. It all depends how they've been programmed. So they do get mixed up. We have an little light here, LED light here, which lights up in blue. And then we have the off on button here. So I'm going to show you now. And at the back, just before I start, at the back here, it's just simply to get access to the battery, simply press down and pull out to get access to the battery. Now I'm going to show you how to connect it to your phone. Now, whether you've got an iPhone or an Android phone, you have to go to settings, go to Bluetooth. On Android users, you have to make sure that your phone in Bluetooth is set to discovery mode, so it'll be able to see this. And once you've done that, you simply switch on the Bluetooth remote, and as you can see, the button is there flashing. So it's in pairing mode. We go down to the bottom, and as you can see, it's called AB shutter free. We press on that. Now it axes to pair. You press pair, and it should pair straight away, and it has, and then it's connected. Now, while we're here, we'll test if the Bluetooth shutter button mutes the sound of the shutter. So I'm going to come out of this, go to my camera settings, camera app, and now I'm going to press the shutter button here to see if it will mute the sound of the shutter in the camera, and I'll press it. No, it doesn't mute the sound. So we'll do the video, test on the video. Doesn't mute the sound, and I'll stop the video. And that's it, so it doesn't mute the sound. This is how the selfie stick looks when it's fully extended. And I have to say, this is one of the longest car aerial type selfie sticks. Even though I said to you that it's a generic selfie stick and you can get these, but it looks like you can get them at different lengths, and they don't really quote the lengths as such. This one is one of the longest. Now it's 40 inches overall from the very top of the phone mount down to the bottom of the handle. Now, as I always state in my videos, I don't go by that, because you're losing the actual couple of inches off the top where the phone mount is here, and you're losing a couple of inches off the handle at the bottom here. So at the top of the handle to the bottom of the actual phone mount, it measures at 29 inches, which is still quite long. So I'll give it the wobble test, which I forgot to do on others, but I'll give it the wobble test. And I have to say, there's not much wobbling in there whatsoever. It still feels quite stiff. And another thing is that it opens out into six segments, and it's quite thick, considering that the last segment to the first segment is quite thick. It's thick at the bottom and it's quite thick at the top. So I'd say it's one of the thickest car aerial types I've come across. The only thing is, I have to say, is it does not have a seam whatsoever. It is seamless. There's nothing on the stem to actually give it any strength whatsoever. I think it's just solely relying on the thickness of each section, because as I stated before, it is quite thick. It uses friction to hold it there in its place, and it is quite stiff. And also, when we come to the top here, I can tell you this now, this is glued in, and then it's been indentation, or I think I got that one wrong, but it's glued in with these dents in there, and I'll try and get it on the camera there for you, right around, and that's the only thing holding this mount up. So I have to say to you guys this, after a while this will loosen up. So if you're going to buy this, I suggest you put some very strong epoxy glue around the top here, or super glue if you're going to keep this for a long time, if you intend to keep this for a long time. I like at the top how they got this small thumb screw there, so you can angle, and then, there we go folks, we can angle it, and it's notchy as well when angling, and it does go from 180, so it goes from there straight back to there, so it does go 180 with this. And you can obviously tighten the thumb screw at the side here and to tighten it up. As for the phone mount, it's a generic phone mount, and I can say it's not that very good. It's just pure generic. These phone mounts you can pick up as low as $1, even from a dollar store or Poundland in England. You can pick these up for about £1. They're very, very cheap. As you can see, it's very, very thin. We have some foam on the bottom here and a bit of rubber at the top, and you have this pulley or this tab here where you pull up, and it's spring loaded, and you can hear the spring. That goes to show how cheap this is. With these generic phone mounts, they can take any size phone that you place in there, so anything from your minis to your XRs to your pluses, they will fit into this, and your notes as well, they will fit into this phone mount. But if you're going to buy this, I suggest change the phone mount, because these cheap ones are not that good. Also with these ones, they do not go into a portrait position, so for you to go into portrait, you're going to have to turn the whole selfie stick like that to get a portrait shot. They just hold your phone in a landscape position. Their SmilePowo version of their Gorillapod, I have placed my GoPro Hero 9, and I have to say I don't feel confident of my Hero 9 being in this, because even now if I wobble it a bit, because of the weight of the Hero 9 in this particular mount here, you can actually, I try and pick it up on camera, you can hear it shaking within there. So this unit is not shaking, and I have to, obviously that is shaking, but this unit here, it's not sturdy to hold this particular camera. This is the Gorillapod, or their version of the Gorillapod from SmilePowo. Now, I'm not going to really go into much about the stance of this, because it's a Gorillapod, and you can simply, if you want to increase its footprint, it's just simply turning these out, and you can get a better footprint on there. Now, for a cheap version of a Gorillapod, I have to say the legs on this is really good, apart from the ends, obviously what I showed you earlier on, how these rubber feet come off so easily. So when buying this, I suggest that you put a dab of glue on there, which SmilePowo should have done this anyway to stop these from coming off, otherwise you'll lose them. But I have to say the biggest worry with this has to be the mount with your camera in there. As I says, the GoPro Hero 9 is a bigger camera than the other GoPros, so you can see when I shook it, it had a kind of knocky, it was rattling a bit, so you have to be aware of that. So that's the only thing what lets this down, is the actual mounting system here. It lets it down big style. But for a Gorillapod, it is okay. Usage outside, as I stated, because you can spread the legs out more. As you can see, it's practically almost coming off this table, how I've got the legs spread out. It's quite good, so it's not likely to be blown over, even with your phone, with the phone mount in there. It's just that the rattling of the mount at the top may come into, you may pick it up on your microphones on your camera. Now we come to the part of the video where I give my 2p worth on the SmilePowo Selfie Kit. So I'll start off with the negatives, and the first negative has to be about the actual selfie stick. Now, I know I said earlier on in the video that it's one of the longest and one of the thickest car aerial types of selfie sticks that I've come across, but I have to say it does look cheap. So it does look cheap for $12.99, and I know they're doing the whole kit. It does look cheap. It looks that it costs far less than that. Probably that the whole kit should have been round about under a £5. So that's one of its biggest negatives. Other negatives has to be the stem. I know it's a car aerial type stem, but there is no kind of seam or groove on the stem to strengthen it whatsoever. I think this just purely relies its strength on the thickness of each section. Because as I stated, the bottom section is quite thick and the top section is quite thick as well, compared to other car aerial type pull-out friction based selfie sticks. Another negative has to be not so much with the mount itself, because it's got a nice thumb screw there, but it has to be with this tightening screw here. Now, when you place any phone mount on there, you don't even have to place this one. You can place a nice quality one on there if you want. But when you place it on there, because this, it doesn't matter how tight you go, if you slightly knock your phone, it will tilt, it will come off like that. It'll bend basically like that. So it'll come off axis like that. So you've got to be aware of that. This would have been better if the screw was just fastened in there, and then you just simply turn this down and then screw this down to that point, then this would have been firmer. But because you've got this there, it's like there's no kind of tightening point to it. You get to a tightening point, but it still isn't tight. Another negative has to be with the phone mount that they supply with this. As I stated, it is a very cheap generic phone mount. Very squeaky when you very squeaky when you want to put your phone in there. So it's very cheap. The springs in there, they're squeaky. Bad, very bad. Next negative has to be with the mount of this Gorillapod that they give you. The mount up here is absolutely rubbish. It is rattly. If you put, as I said before, you put your action camera in there, there is some shake to this mounting system at the top. Also, the screw system here with this particular handle on there is so loose that even in the wind, and you've got your action camera on there, your action camera the microphones of your action camera will most likely pick up the actual, you probably hear it now, the noise of that being blown in the wind. So the mount of this thing at the top is absolutely rubbish, considering that the legs are not too bad. They're quite thick for this Gorillapod style. They are prone to dirt because it uses this kind of sponge segment around it. And another negative has to be with the bottom of this Gorillapod. These tend to come off quite easily, so you're going to have to glue these on when you get it. And the last negative, which I think, even though I said this was the biggest negative about it, this is the overall big negative of this SmilePowo. It's the price. For $11.99, and I know they give you all that stuff which I showed you at the beginning of the video, I know that, but for $12.99, not $11.99, for $12.99 from Amazon, this is not worth its money. This is worth far more less than that. This is worth no more than £5, because the build quality of this is not up to par. And now for the positives. And I'm not even going to start off with the selfie stick or anything to do with that, or the Gorillapod that they give you. I'm not even going to start that as a positive. The first positive has to be this shutter button. This is a universal shutter button, so even if the rest of the kit is just absolutely rubbish. These shutter buttons are quite good because they're universal. They can be linked to practically anything that has Bluetooth to it. Apart from certain cameras, right? Full frame cameras and mirrorless cameras, they can't be linked to that. But anything else that requires a Bluetooth, these universal shutter buttons are literally can be linked to it. Plus they take a decent size quality battery, and that is found practically almost everywhere, like AA's, which is a CR32 battery. Some take a CR2016 battery, so be aware of that. Next positive has to be with the spanner that you get. You get this nice GoPro spanner, even though it's made out of plastic, but it's quite nice. I give it that, and I like how they provide a little lanyard for it. And the mount and the thumb screw. I have to say these and that and the shutter button are the best qualities of this particular selfie kit. Now this is my overall conclusion of the SmilePowo Selfie Kit. I like how they provide you with quite a lot of items, right? From the bag to the Bluetooth shutter button to the spanner, your selfie stick and your Gorillapod. It's good that they provide you with all of that. I just hate the price. The price is just an absolute rip-off for the price. And if you are going on holiday and you need something that can just hold the phone, that can hold your action camera, and you don't care, absolutely do not care if the selfie stick gets broken or lost, or if the Gorillapod you accidentally left it at your location or whatever, but you still took your but you got your action camera and your phone and you don't care, then get this. Then it's worth buying. If you've got young kids and they're into their social media and you know that they're forgetful, if they're going to leave stuff at the hotel or whatever, or at the airport or wherever, then get them this. That it's not too bad then. Even though you spent £13, sorry, you've only lost 13 quid. So it's good to give it to kids. This is good to take on holiday. If you want to just leave it and forget it, right? It's good for that. If you happen to buy or bought the SmilePowo, please let me know down in the comment section what you thought about it, because your opinions are different to my opinions. So please leave that down in the comment section. Thanks for watching the video. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. I perfectly understand my videos can be long, but I like to go into detail to save you the trouble of when you buy the product, you know what to expect. So that's why my videos are long. Please subscribe to the channel and I'll see you next time.